Mia cucina in Italian means my kitchen. And today I have a deliciousness to show you. I got back from Scotland about a couple of weeks ago, and no matter where you go in Scotland, they make these amazing traditional Scottish oat cakes. And you can get them at all the restaurants. They'll give it to you for lunch, for breakfast, for dinner, and they're usually served with some type of a meal such as breakfast, or it can be served with soups and stews. And since the weather is getting colder, I wanted to show you this traditional Scottish oat cake, but I'm going to make it a little more savory to give it a more of flavor. So I am making a stew later, and I'm going to be having these beautiful oat cakes. So what I have here that I am chopping is that I have some rosemary. This is what's going to give this cracker oat cake, however you want to call it. I call them crackers, they call them oat cakes. And what I have here is a good tablespoon that I have just chopped, and this is the wonderful rosemary that I grow myself, and that's what I have here. So I have a tablespoon of chopped rosemary. I also have a heaping teaspoon that I also minced or chopped of dry rosemary. I really love rosemary. If you don't love rosemary, you can use thyme. I have not made it with thyme. I have done it just with rosemary. So now that I have here a tablespoon of fresh and a good heaping teaspoon of the dry chopped, I have that over here. Then what I have here that I'm going to bring your attention to, it's a half a cup of flour. And what I am using is organic oat flour. That is what I'm using. I'm gluten sensitive, and this is what I will be using. If you are not using oat, you can substitute it for regular flour. And I am using oat flour, so I have a half a cup of oat flour. Now to this oat flour, I'm going to be adding a teaspoon of granulated garlic, a teaspoon of salt, and also I am going to be adding a teaspoon of Xanthan Gum. And what this does, it binds it all together. Or you can buy the one flour that they have, it's a gluten-free, that is 1-to-1. If you're going to use flour, you're going to omit the gum, and you're just going to use the salt, the granulated garlic, and that's what I have in here like so. And I'm also going to add my little herbs. Now, before I mix this, in the microwave oven here, I have a half a cup, make sure you measure very well, a half a cup of water, and I want this water to boil. So I'm gonna make it, you know, I have it in 1 minute, depending on where you are, in what state or what part of the country you are. We definitely want a half a cup of boiling water. So I just want to mix this, as you can see, very easy transaction. So remember, if you're going to use regular flour, it's a half a cup, the same thing, half a cup of flour, and then you're going to be using the granulated garlic with the salt, and you're going to omit the Xanthan Gum. But in my case, I'm going to make this gluten-free for all of those that are very gluten sensitive. So that's what I have here. And then what I have here is I have 2 cups of oats. Now, I am using the old-fashioned rolled oats because these have not been processed, and what I am getting is the true oat that is gluten-free. So for all of you that are gluten sensitive and gluten-free, make sure that you get organic and make sure that it's not been processed to cross-contaminate. want to make sure that my water is boiling. I'm going to give it to another minute. In the meantime, what I am going to mix to that particular water is 2 tablespoons of butter. And into this butter, I am just going to take a regular teaspoon and I am just going to add a whole entire teaspoon of olive oil. And that's the Italian in me. Now, the traditional oats, Scottish oats, do not have olive oil. Some do, because there's a lot of Italians that I discovered when I went to Scotland. There's a lot of Italians that are in Scotland, believe it or not, and that's why they have so many Italian restaurants. You're going to have a sheet that you are going to have parchment paper on. The oven is at 350 degrees. Now the reason I want this to be boiling, which it is right now, let me get this out of the way. And now I'm going to put here 30 minutes. So I want to get my timer started. So now what I want to do is I want to take to my boiling water my olive oil and my butter. I'm going to put it all in there just like so. I want my butter, it helps if you leave it at room temperature because it'll melt quickly. And I just want to melt the butter. So when you get it, make sure that you take it at room temperature, because if it'll get your water to cool, and we really want the water to be super, super hot as we are going to be adding it into the 2 cups of rolled oats. This is so easy that no fadale is needed today, meaning no apron is needed. So what I want to do is I want to add that right in there like that. I want to make sure that I get all my wonderful water in here with my olive oil and my butter. And then with just a spoon, we are just going to mix it together. Mix it all together. And it's going to take a few minutes for the oats to start absorbing the water. And I went all over Scotland when I was there. I was very blessed that I got to do this after 2 years of traveling, because I really wanted to get to know the cuisine there and the architecture and the people. The people are so nice and warm. Now, so as you can see, this is, mixing it very, very well. So now, little by little, we are just going to implementing this 1/2 cup of flour. See what I'm doing, guys? Keep mixing it and keep mixing it. And we are going to implement pretty much the entire 1/2 cup, little by little. Because we are mixing it, what I have discovered is that it absorbs it. And it's going to be kind of sticky when we work with it, but we're not going to have to work too much with it with our hands. Although I probably will get in here with my hands, which I am going to take, because I like to get in. I like to feel my food. Don't ask me why, but I do. Because, I like to know. I like to know how moist it is. And now that I can handle it because it's not so hot, I am going to go ahead and put the rest of my flour. And with my hands, I am just going to start taking it from the outside, bringing it inside like that, mixing all the flour, and I want to make it into a ball. It does not need to be refrigerated. It doesn't need to be anything. Now, if you want to make it look like a cracker, and it's interesting because some locations, they would utilize the little forks to make the indentations to kind of make it look like a cracker. But a lot of places, they didn't. So I am going to save myself from having to make all those indentations. So I got my oven at 350 degrees. We're going to put these crackers for 30 minutes. Then we're going to take out the crackers. We're going to turn them over. We're going to cook them for another 15 minutes. We're going to shut the oven off. And we're going to let these guys sit in there for 10 minutes. Now, depending on the thickness of your cracker, it might take a little bit longer, or oat cakes. I got my friends from Scotland watching. Sorry, I meant to call them oat cakes. So now as you can see, it's made a nice ball here. And then I'm going to get 2 pieces of parchment paper, like so. Very simple transaction. And then what I want to do is I'm going to bring this ball right in here, getting the rest of this because I really want all my oat cakes. And I'm going to rinse my hands real quick. I'm just around the corner, I'm not going that far. Did you miss me? I'm back. So now that I have this beautifulness, I want to put another parchment paper, and with our hands we are going to squeeze down. So what I want to do now is I want to get a rolling pin, and I have a nice hard one because you're going to want to have that. I'm going to move all of these things out of the way because just in case I knock something over and break things, I'm always breaking things. And then what I want to do is I want to start rolling this out. And you know, I can smell the rosemary. Actually, I can even smell the granulated garlic. I never tried fresh garlic with this, but you know, the sky is the limit because you could do whatever you like with this this oat cake. Usually what they do is when they have them in restaurants, they do not put granulated garlic and they do not put any herbs. I've never had them with any herbs there, so I wanted to make it savory because I am doing a stew. And it's gotten pretty cold here in Florida. You know, it gets 50 degrees and we're freezing. And the whole entire time I was in Scotland, it was in the 30s. So as you can see, I am, you know, depending on how thick you want them to be, I kind of like mine not to be very thick. The ones that I have seen there, they were about a third of an inch, sometimes less. And what I want to do is that I really want mine to be, I'm trying to make it into a square, but I don't do very well in making squares. So I'm going to flip it over because it was coming towards the end over there. And I want to make sure that I can spread it out even more. Now, if it comes a little bit apart, don't worry about it, you know, because we're going to spread this. So I can see that I need to spread it this way more. So I'm going to turn it over here. I'm going to bring this over here, and I'm just going to spread it more. This dough, however you want to call it, I call it a dough. It's very workable, very, very workable. And then that I have them this way, then what I want to do now, get my paper out of the way, is that I just want to take just a regular glass. Now, the way that they have them in Scotland, they're round. So what I like to do is I like to come to the very edge over here, and the little pieces that I have over here, I can use those for later. And I'm going to start putting them down. It goes pretty quickly. Again, depending on the thickness of your oat cakes is how long you are going to bake them. I have discovered that when they are as thin as these are, not even an inch, maybe less than a half an inch, it takes a good half an hour at 350 because you want to cook them slow, okay, for a good half an hour. And then I would shut my oven off, and I would actually not shut my oven off. I would cook them longer because, again, it depends on the thickness. So if you're going to have a half an inch, I would bake them for half an hour, then turn them on the other side and bake them for another, you know, a good 15 to 20 minutes. And then shut the oven off and let them sit in the oven for a good 15 to 20 minutes. And these are going to be a little thicker. Well, actually, they'll come at the same size. And I'm going to show you what they look like when they are done through the magic of television, which is not television, it's actually phone. So now I have these pieces like so. So what we do is we bring them back in, okay, back in like that. And we're just going to make them into a ball again. Just use this, no big deal. You know, bring them all in here like so. Because this is a very lovely, lovely dough that makes such great oat cakes. And I tell you, I'm addicted to these things. I made these, since I've been back, I have made these 4 times. That's how much I love them. And I wanted to bring this to you because it's so easy and so delicious. So now I put the paper again, push him down, and then, you know, we roll and roll it out again. We just roll it out. And I want to keep the same, pretty much the same thickness. And again, I'm probably going to bake this again, like I said, I keep saying 350, not any higher, because you want to cook them slow. So then that way they can become nice and crispy. And I'm just going to continue to roll them out. See, very simple transaction, guys. It's a very simple. And like I said, they have them all over Scotland. And the ones that I had were not savory. They just did not have, you know, the savory part in it. But I like for things to be savory. Now, if you don't like it to be savory, again, you can omit the granulated garlic. You know, you can omit the rosemary, or you know, if you want to make it with thyme, you can make it with thyme, and then depending on what you're making. And these guys will continue to be done like this. Now, you know, I've also seen them to where they have been, that were very rustic, to where if you have a, you know, a piece like this, you know, you can put that in there as well, because, you know, we don't want to throw anything away. We definitely want to utilize these guys. So then what I'm going to do is so then you can also use a knife to where to cut them, and you can, you know, you can make them into a star. You know, it's just like almost baking cookies, but we're not baking cookies. We're baking oat cakes. So, you know, if you don't want to mess, to roll them over again, you know, little pieces, because I like to take all these other pieces, and then I use them as croutons for a salad, you know, the little pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of put them around here. So then that way I can fill in the gaps, all the little gaps. And these will bake nicely and delicious. So this is what you're looking at. Now this is going to go in the middle part of the oven, right in there. And I'm going to put it 30 minutes. Okay, start. There it goes. If I can get the start here, and there it goes. And then what you have, let me bring you what it looks like when they're done. And then what I have these beautiful, delicious, traditional Scottish savory oat cakes. And they look like little cakes. As you can see, they are thin, and you can actually see some of the wonderful, you know, rosemary, and you can put them in a nice little plate like so with a little sprigs of rosemary, so you know, and you can serve them. I want to thank all my sponsors, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Have a beautiful, blessed day.